Grab a chair or ottoman, a poof, or is it puff? Doesn't matter. Something stable you can dip with. All right, 1 dip, 2, 3, 4, nice, 5. Starting to feel it? Because I am. And I'm just an animation. Burning. Go ahead. We earned it.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. High blood pressure silently affects millions of Americans. Staying on top of your blood pressure is as simple as these 4 easy steps. Self-monitoring is power. Visit manageyourbp.org to learn more.
And hi there, everybody. I don't know about you, but I was doing a little getting down to the music, reminding me to, get it, check it, and all that, cuff it. Hi, I'm Benita Zahn, and I want to welcome you all to the webinar, the 3rd webinar in the Check It Community Conversation series, How to Be More Active and Manage Weight. As I said, I'm Benita Zahn, and some of you may know me from my days at News Channel 13. These days, I'm a certified health and wellness coach at Capital Cardiology. So your heart is all important in terms of my everyday. I've got a family history of hypertension, so I'm really aware of making sure that my blood pressure is in the normal range, which is a little lower than what most people used to think. 120/80 is now, that's the thing that gets Doc's eyebrows going up. You've got to be a little bit under that. So I'm active and I make sure I get enough water every day. And I think that's really important. And this is what I talk to my clients about. So, this is what the kind of stuff that I love. So I'm really happy to be moderating today's conversation as part of the Check It Challenge. Now, the annual Check It Challenge is a free evidence-based wellness and blood pressure management program, and it focuses on improving your health by making simple changes to prevent and manage high blood pressure. Now, throughout the challenge, we've been talking about understanding your numbers and making small changes to make big improvements. High blood pressure is nothing to mess around with, gang. Now, if you've missed any of the American Heart Association resources, or you need to go back to check something out, just head over to the website, www.heart.org/checkitny. The Check It Challenge wouldn't be possible without our generous sponsors. So we've got to have a big thank you to the local sponsors that you see on your screen: Matthews Auto, Broadview Federal Credit Union, Baxter, the Kinney Drugs Foundation, and media sponsor CNY Latino. I'd also like to know who's joining us today. So in the chat box, let us know your name, where you're joining us from, and what organization you're with. In the chat box, be sure to select all panelists and attendees, or else we're not going to be able to see you. And we're going to use the chat box for questions throughout the session. While our panelists are speaking, feel free to put your questions in the chat box. We'll hold the questions and we're going to get through as many as we can during the Q&A at the end. And hi there, Heather from Community Bank in Syracuse. Love it. And we've got Troy showing up and Highland. Yeah, all over Binghamton. Now, as a reminder, this is a public event, so please avoid disclosing any personal medical information when you're using that chat feature. We're also recording the session today, and it will be available on the Check It Challenge website, American Heart Association, New York State, Facebook event page, and the American Heart Association's Eastern States YouTube channel. It'll be available approximately 2 days after the webinar closes. Your one-time registration gives you access to all recordings, future events, and resources on the event website. Again, because I know it goes by fast, the website is www.heart.org, and that's all lowercase, /checkitny. And if you're using social media throughout this conversation, please use the handles that you see on the screen at AHA New York and the hashtag check it. There you go. All right. So we got all this stuff done. Why don't we jump right in and get moving? And our first guest is a dear friend and a wonderful motivator. She is Olivia Frempong. Olivia is an Albany-based clinical social worker, and she is on a mission. She's a certified run coach, personal trainer, and group fitness instructor in the Capital Region. After suffering a couple of pregnancy losses before giving birth to 3 children, and 2 are twins, she was diagnosed with high blood pressure. Well, she took action to fight it. Olivia modified her diet and she began exercising. At first, Olivia walked. Well, that led to running very short distances. Eventually, she worked her way up to a 5K. Olivia ran with Black Girls Run. It's a national organization, and she started an Albany chapter in 2016. And now Olivia is the ambassador and leader with close to 800 women taking part. You know, if you build it, they will come, and they sure did. To date, you ready for this? Olivia has completed 6 full marathons, including 4 world majors, and she has a current run streak of 1,981 days. That's right, you heard it right. A run streak of 1,981 days. To get more people up and moving and active, she founded her fitness company and ministry, Live Fit 413, in 2019. Olivia says she motivates and encourages people to get and stay active no matter where they are in their journeys, whether it be through African dance, Afrobeat, and Zumba fitness, running, or strength training. Olivia, it's always great to see you. You know, I know the sun shines out here in the 518, but when I see you, it shines more brightly every time. So you're going to get us started, and you've got some movement exercises, right? So I'm going to hand it over to you. And what do you got to get us started? And we're just waiting for Olivia.
Hello, yes, I do.
There.
Are you guys ready? So I'm gonna ask that everyone gets on up. We're gonna do a few dance moves, and we're actually gonna be doing it to Afrobeat music, which is a fusion of sounds flowing from Ghana, Nigeria, mixed with jazz and soul. Thank you for Benita for that wonderful introduction. I hope everyone is ready. Get on up. We're gonna do just a quick little routine just so we can show you how to get things moving and just really show you that exercise could be something as simple as in the convenience of your home. You guys ready? All right, here we go. March it out. Bicep curls, right here.
Jerusalem, Ikayana,
4, 3, 2, and 1. And a brush. Come on.
Jerusalem, Ikayana,
4, 3, 2, and 1. Knees up right here. Up, up. Four, 3, 2, and 1. March it out. So we just want to get moving, get the heart pumping, get the blood flowing. Hey, come on. Over to the side. 1 and 2. March it out. Just be free. Shake it out. Move however you like. One kick. Let's go. Kick. 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 If you can't kick, just keep your knees up. That's the beauty of working out. You do what works for you. March it out. I'm going to show you some traditional African movements. I'm from Ghana, West Africa, so I love showing off my culture. Hey, come on. March it out again. Watch me right here. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Reset right here. Feet and back. One more. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's squat right here. Down and up. One more again. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Pump it up again. Come on. Come on. Come on. Let's go. Move to the side. Hey, hey. Another move right here. Down and up. Other arm goes down right here. Hey, come on. March it out. Let's go. Woo. All right, one more thing.
I can understand how you make me feel. The spirit giving me direction.
Bring it down.
I want to give me direction.
All right, good job, everyone.
Olivia, that was fabulous. You know, I did my run this morning with my big dog, but I was still moving with you. That is great. And I think your point is really well taken. If you can't do the high kick like a rocket, do a low kick, do something that works for you. And is that how you got, to where you are? You started slow. Give us a sense of, that journey and building up to it.
So, like you said, you just start where you're at. Every day you add a little bit more and more to it, and you keep going. Before you know it, you're off to the races. And that's literally what happened with my journey. I never ran a day in my life. Walked to the block, went back, walked to the next block, walked back, and it kept going and going and going, building from there.
Olivia, you got to help us out, and I see it with clients, and I'm sure some of our great participants are thinking, yeah, but what about those days when, oh man, that couch is just calling me and I don't know, how do you make yourself, and that's what they say, how do I make myself do this?
You see, the first thing is you got to stop thinking of it as a task, because the minute you start thinking of it as, oh, I have to instead of I get to, that just puts a heavy burden on you within itself. So I have the honor. I get to work out. I get to move my body. Changes the whole perspective.
Okay, now you got to share with us 1,000 plus, almost a new 2,000 day run streak, and you've got 3 kids at home. Superwoman, come on, help! How do you get there? And
I'm a morning person, so for me, I like to get up before everyone else is up. Because it's like a win-win. You have a quiet house, you get to do what you want. I could sit down, I could read, I could drink my coffee with nice peace and get ready mentally for the day. So I like to get up in the morning, knock it out, and then the world is yours after that.
which is a wonderful way to think about it. I also wonder, Olivia, for some folks, they get started and then they worry about keeping it up. And at some point, you hit 500 days and then 750 days. At any point, did you think, oh, I don't want to mess this up? How do I keep it going? That the pressure of continuing it, how do you keep that in perspective and use it?
There have been times, because originally this started off as a 40-day streak with the Runner's World magazine challenge from November Thanksgiving to New Year's Eve. On New Year's Day, it was supposed to be a 40-day challenge. But you know what? When you get into a routine of doing something, it becomes who you are, right? And so it became who I was. I noticed the mental benefits. I felt better physically, emotionally. If I'm having a rough day, it's what gets me to process the day. So it's really just getting over that hump of, forgetting about the pressure. That's the thing. And with exercise, you have to make it fun. If it's not fun, you're not going to do it. And it's not a chore, if you will. If it's fun, you'll do it without thinking about it. Now, needless to say, there are some nights when it's like 11:45 p.m. and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't run today. And I jump off the couch and I go downstairs to my treadmill, and I'm blessed to have one. But the fact that I'm still like, hey, you can still do that, it just speaks volumes to how much it's dedication to me. Because if I'm not my best me, I can't be the best me for all of us. No good me, there's no good we.
Well said. And so many women in particular, though men also seem to think that self-care is selfish, and it's the exact opposite. If you don't fill your tank, you can't be there for those who depend on you and those you love. Is there a distance that you run every day to keep the streak going?
At least a mile. When I'm training, when I'm in marathon training season, 5, 6 on a daily basis. But right now, I'm just been keeping it simple. The kids are busy, life is busy. So again, alleviate that pressure. I'm doing my dance classes, so at least a mile, 5K, a mile a day, less pressure.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of folks, Olivia, think that it's got to be a certain place, a certain time, a certain way. But you said, you've got, the kids are busy. If you go out to soccer practice, say the kids are doing that or something, there's always an opportunity to move while they're busy on the court or the field, isn't there?
Absolutely. I was exactly about to say that. My boys are on a traveling soccer team. And so while they're doing their thing, I'm like, all right, I'll be right back. You guys are practicing, and I'll do a couple laps around the field. So there's really no excuses. When you're sitting at home after dinner, watching TV, get up and march in place, step side to side, do squats. There's so many things that we could do. And, if you take away all that pressure of exercise has to look a certain way and you get creative with it, the sky's the limit.
And I love the way you said all the inclusive things you talked about. And I'm sure you're familiar with some new research talking about 2-minute movement snacks, because a lot of people don't like the word exercise, but 2-minute snacks. So, if you've got that jar of your life and it's filled with rocks, there's always room to throw the sand in, right? Yeah. And that would be your 2 minutes, and you can just do anything, right?
Anything. You saw what I was doing. Just turn on the TV during commercial breaks. Challenge yourself. So as you're watching the evening news, every time the commercial come on, get up and march in place. Get a gallon of water. Just lift it up. Grab 2 cans in your pantry. Do something with it. Jog like that. Play with the kids. Jump rope in place. There's so many things that you can do to just keep moving.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And it really does all add up. Those 2 minutes and 2 minutes. And next thing you know, you've done 15 because you've done a load of them. And as we all know, the recommendation is 150 minutes a week of moderate to vigorous exercise. But the research on these 2-minute snacks is really great for all of us who are so busy. So, and one more thing, Olivia, What's the one piece of advice you would offer someone who's just starting out?
It's you versus you, your race, your pace. You don't have to look at anyone else. You don't have to focus on what anyone else is doing, but focus on yourself. So if today I could only walk 10 steps, take pride in that, number one, because you did it, because someone else didn't do it, right? And then tomorrow when you come back, take 11 steps. I'm not saying you have to jump to 50, take 11 steps. Small practice adds up, little progress adds up, and eventually you'll be at 1,000 steps and you'll look back and say, listen, it all started with that small step. Your race, your pace.
I love it. Your race, your pace. And okay, I got one more for you, Olivia. It's training the body. And a lot of folks feel, I'm so out of shape. But talk a little bit about training your mind and how that plays into all this.
Oh boy, yes. So I remember when I was training for my first marathon, it was the New York City Marathon 2015. And it was a lot. I'd never done that, that distance before. So my mind was already trying to defeat me. You can't do this, but you have to whip it in your mind so you can manifest it in the natural. And lift it. When I speak to my clients, I tell them everything is mental. You have to believe it to perceive it. And death and life lie in the power of the tongue. So if I sit there and I say, I am not going to be able to do this, guess what? The body's going to follow suit. So if I declare and I say, I can do this today, I will do this today, it gives you that extra oomph. You get like this super incredible Hulk strength and you'll be able to move forward.
It's so true. I'm sitting here in my home office doing this and looking up and I'm seeing my New York City Marathon poster from 2003. And that was my first. And what we also have to declare for ourselves what is good.
Yes.
I'm never going to be a 4-hour marathoner. It's not going to happen. But 5, yeah. Do I get to celebrate, cheer, and wrap myself in that the aluminum foil, the baked potato look?
Yeah.
And those are the things. So I love it. You got to see it and believe it, and it happens. Olivia, I'm going to let you, because you got us all. Yeah. We're going to get back to you. We're going to get back to you shortly. Olivia, thank you so very much. I mean, inspiration. I'm reading some of the comments and everybody is jazzed listening to you and seeing you. You help make us see ourselves and see that it's possible. So if you've got questions for Olivia, please put them in the chat because we will get to them at the very end. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Paul Arciero. Dr. Arciero is the author of the Amazon #1 bestseller, The Prize Life. It's a book based on his more than 70 peer-reviewed scientific research publications of easily executed lifestyle strategies to lose weight, gain muscle, reduce disease, and improve your physical and cognitive performance. His research has been featured in hundreds of media outlets. And through my years at News Channel 13, I was delighted to always be able to reach out to Paul and get his expertise. And in fact, still doing that for some other writing I'm doing. He has served as a performance and nutrition expert for Olympic medalists, world-class professional athletes and collegiate and high school and master's athletes, also business and thought leaders from around the world. He serves as a senior consultant and scientific advisory board member to the nutrition, fitness, and wellness industries. Paul's also a fellow of the American College of Sports Medicine, the Obesity Society, and the International Society of Sports Nutrition. Dr. Arciero specializes in providing health and wellness consulting services for organizations, institutions, and industries of all sizes. He's president and CEO of Prize LLC. That's a nutrition and fitness consulting company that owns the Prize Life app on Apple App Store. He's also a past member of the board of directors of the American Heart Association of the Capital Region. And Paul, it's my delight to be able to welcome you today. So now that Olivia got our hearts pumping, and I bet you were doing a little bit of get down with her as well.
100%. That was
right?
Wonderful.
Never miss an opportunity, right?
Never. Yeah.
Let's chat a little bit about how physical activity and weight management play a role in the overall health of our lives. So how does being active and being a healthy weight affect blood pressure?
Well, I think that's the $1 million question for so many people, because we often have other alternatives to replace a lifestyle intervention, Benita, to help us with some of these health conditions. And ultimately, it's lifestyle that is the best medicine, right? As we learned from the great philosophers, let food and movement be thy medicine. And that still holds true today. It's, of course, the first line of defense. And what it does in terms of specifically with blood pressure, when we move, it helps relax, literally relax our blood vessels so that they're not encountering that resistance. So Olivia's wonderful movement experience that we all did, I think we're all benefiting tremendously from it in terms of a lowering of our blood pressure. No, it truly does. It's a wonderful natural medicine, but it virtually relaxes the blood vessels, and that's what helps us reduce our blood pressure.
Yeah. Is it based on your extensive research, Paul? Are there best types of exercise and physical activity for us to perform on a regular basis?
Yeah, there's no doubt that there is. There's an easy to follow formula, and one of which was what we just did with Olivia, and listening to her story is one of those. So what we've discovered in our lab over the last 37 years of committing ourselves to creating these lifestyle interventions to optimize health and performance, we have found that there have been 4 movement experiences that have risen to the top. And literally, they've held the test of time, meaning that through all of the decades that we've been studying human movement, these 4 different types of movement have come to the surface time and time again in providing us optimal health benefit. And they are resistance exercise. So those would be things like squatting and pulling yourself up, pushing yourself up, getting up from a seated position, from lying in bed. Those are the more activities of daily living that we do when we talk about resistance. But they would also mean going to the gym and either lifting some weights or just doing some body weight exercises like push-ups, sit-ups, and pull-ups and things of that nature. So resistance exercise, anything that we are exerting a force, a resistance, or pushing against a resistance, or pulling against a resistance, that's resistance exercise. Weight training, of course, would be the most well-known. And then the second form of exercise are these shorter, more maximal bursts of movement. We call them either sprint interval bouts of movement. We're actually sprinting on a bicycle or running or walking really fast, or in a swimming pool or on a rowing ergometer, something where we're doing our full body movement, but doing it at our maximal all-out effort for a very short window of time, anywhere from 10 seconds up to 60 seconds. So, and then we also have another version called high intensity intervals. And those would be things that you're doing as well over a sustained period of the same amount of time. So those are extremely beneficial for us as well. A third form of movement is the form of movement that we engage in when we are stretching our body, when we are increasing our joint mobility. We're doing mobilizing type movements, Tai Chi, yoga, Pilates, standard stretching poses. Those are all wonderful for us. And then the fourth is the one that, again, Olivia is a champion of, and that's the endurance, the aerobic type of movement. So those are 4 very distinct, but 4 essential movements that, guess what, we get to do. I love that choice of words. Instead of thinking that, oh, I need to do that, you get to do those 4 variety, wonderful, fulfilling, and very unique and special forms of human movement that provide your body amazing benefit.
Are there some specific health benefits to each one of those 4 types of activity, Paul?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. Yeah, there absolutely is. So when you think about the resistance movements that I described, they can be as simple, Benita. I often tell people that if you don't like going to the gym, a lot of people don't, just fill up a jug of milk, a plastic jug of milk, or buy some jugs of water. That's perfectly fine. You can use those as some resistance, or just simply, again, getting up from a chair. But what those do, the resistance movements, what they do, and simple bands that we have now available too, they help us increase our muscular strength, which is the amount of force that we can exert against a resistance, of simple little activities, reaching up and bending and carrying groceries, for example. That's a muscular strength movement. Power, the ability to exert strength over a short period of time, and then endurance, how long you can sustain these things for. So again, climbing up a flight of stairs, carrying something, that's a muscular endurance type of a movement. And what they do is they help your activities of daily living become much easier. And as we grow older, all of us, unfortunately, we can maintain.
No, fortunately.
Fortunately, yes, actually, I agree with that, 100%. Yes, so we can increase our body's muscular strength, endurance, and power to just help us live our lives easier, getting in and out of a chair, in and out of bed, up and down the stairs, in and out of the car, reaching for something in the grocery store, carrying our groceries to and from our car. So these things that we kind of take for granted become a little bit more challenging for a lot of people if we neglect or don't get to do that resistance exercise. With the intervals, those are the optimal, the single best form of movement, those little exercise, or what we call movement snacks that you were referring to, in very short windows of time during the day. In fact, I know you were saying 2 minutes. Some of the latest research, I just read a study the other day that said, even if you do them for a minute or less, I know that sounds unbelievable. It's even better, right? But even for a minute or less of these movement snacks are phenomenal in terms of helping us, guess what, burn our body fat, and especially the fat that accumulates around our midsection. And that's so problematic because it impacts our heart and our metabolic health so much. So if you want to maximize your burning of the belly fat around your visceral organs, those are your vital organs, you can do those little exercise snacks at a high intensity for 10 seconds up to a minute. And that's going to optimize your heart and your metabolic health. In terms of stretching, of course, as we described before, it helps with not just your muscular flexibility, so your ability to bend down and touch your toes, reach for an object, bend over, if you have to pick up something on the ground, or reach up high to pull something off a shelf. So, but they're also designed to help with our joint mobility, because that becomes more of an issue, again, as we increase in age. We actually lose the range of motion in which our joints can move. And so what I tell people is that when you perform these stretching exercises, it's the glue that holds us together. And if you let that glue become dry and crackly and brittle, well, then that's not good for our joints. And so by keeping our joints lubricated, that allows us to continue to move in all of those different directions. One other benefit from the stretching component is that it has been shown to significantly enhance our mood, specifically some neurotransmitters. That's a fancy name for some hormones inside of our brain, to keep them at a high level, to keep us in a state of happiness and euphoria. So I really like the stretching for that reason. And then the last one, endurance, we've already discussed some of those benefits, but from a cardiovascular heart health perspective, the endurance exercise is wonderful for that. But we also know, I do some brain research, we call it neurocognitive research, and we've shown that people that engage in a very low level of endurance exercise, equivalent to going out for a mild, moderate jog or walk or hike, or bike ride, just very casual, on a scale of 1 to 10, you want to be at about a 5 to 6 at the highest. So it's much different from those interval higher bursts of movement that I was talking about earlier. When you're at that level, just about the midpoint of your full spectrum of exerting yourself, that's when your brain responds the best to it in terms of not just your mood, but your cognition, how well you can think and recall things, your memory, your ability to execute what we call executive function, being able to multitask and think of things in a linear fashion in your thought process. So when you engage in those 4 different forms of exercise, Benita, you have tremendous full body mind benefit, which is really cool.
Well, I also want to ask, in terms of these exercises, as we age, and particularly for women post-menopause, the fall off of estrogen, it impacts bone density. When you exercise, share with us how that helps, even as we're older, to keep our bones strong and perhaps even rebuild bone.
Well, that's an issue that so many encounter, and you're right that many women are more at risk because of the drop in estrogen. But men as well, as we know, as they begin to get older, our bones become a little more fragile, a little more brittle. So the type of exercises, as well as the quality of the nourishment that we take in, make a massive impact on keeping those bones strong and healthy. Because once a fracture occurs, it really sets in place a little bit of a cascade in a not so good way. And so to prevent that and keep the bones healthy, we want to load them, meaning we want to put a little bit of healthy stress. That would be, again, things like walking is an excellent, jogging, excellent exercise. Anything that you can use gravity and the weight of your own body loading onto your bones is a really good thing. The resistance exercise that I described before, doing something as simple as, we call them farmer's walks, where you're holding things in your hand. But again, holding groceries to and from your car is one of the best things you can do for your bones. It's actually bone loading. So what I always encourage people to do, especially as we get past the age of 50, is park a little bit further away from your the grocery store entrance, and instead of pushing the cart, you could push the cart, and for some people that's actually a really helpful thing to do. But if you can tolerate it and you can support this, take the grocery bags in each of your hands and hold them as you're walking to your car that you've parked a little bit further away. That is an excellent, easy to incorporate movement snack on your way to and from the grocery store.
And I don't have to go to the gym or dress any kind of fancy for that. And along with that, Paula, there are a certain number of days of the week, maybe the amount of time for each of the exercises.
There is, yeah, there's an ideal, and this might sound a little bit controversial, but that's okay. That's why we're on this call. I want to bring the latest and greatest science to everybody. What we have found is that if you do desire and get to, I love, again, using that word, to engage in more opportunities to do some of these movement experiences of resistance, interval stretching, and endurance, feel free to do that. But what we do know in terms of the specific types of activity that I just described, the optimal amount is 1 day a week. And in some cases, if you wanted to do one of those twice a week, that would be the sweet spot. Now, that's not discounting general movement of things like walking. Like there's been some controversy about the ideal number of steps we need to take during the day. And I'm often quoted on this in many media outlets that the research shows very, very convincingly that any amount above 4,000 steps a day is tremendously beneficial. In fact, once you get to 10,000 steps that everyone thought was the gold standard, there's really not that much additional health benefit that we derive. So the sweet spot for our overall health on a general basis, daily basis, is somewhere between 4,000 to 10,000 steps a day. And once you've achieved that, wonderful. But then to superimpose on that general movement of walking of 4,000 to 10,000 steps, you want to engage in those 4 different types of movement experience. And walking could even account for the endurance component. But 1 day a week of the resistance, the interval, and the stretching is all you need on a weekly basis. And then the walking, as I described.
Olivia pointed out that she's a morning person. So she gets, out and gets it done. And it's funny, I'm not a morning person, but I'm happier doing my power walking or running early in the day. So Paul, is there an optimal time to do each and every one of these exercises?
You know what, Benita, I tell this all the time. I've done a lot of research and have been, as you know, acknowledged for some of this research on the timing, the best time of day to exercise. And this is what I tell people. The best time of day to exercise is the best time that you can fit it in. I mean, there's just no denying that. Now, there are some nuances to that. So I tell people all the time, listen, if the time of day is too much to try to manage, any time of day is better than no time of day to put in some movement experience, movement snack. But there are certain times during the day where we can derive a greater benefit. And specifically, it's this. In women, I have found and published this in scientific publications that when women exercise in the morning, sometime before 10 in the morning, they burn more total body fat and especially belly fat. On top of that, on the topic of today, they have a lower blood pressure response. So when women get out and do it first thing in the morning, like Olivia and others that prefer the morning time, you're actually benefiting yourself in terms of the amount of belly fat and body fat that you're burning and losing, as well as lowering your blood pressure. When women decide to get to exercise in the evening, sometime after that 5 p.m. time period, they have significantly greater benefit in their upper body strength. And why that's so important, why I'm so excited to talk about this, is because in general, women have less muscle mass, just from a reproductive, physiological, anatomical perspective than men do. And so anytime they can benefit by increasing the upper body strength, that's a huge win. And so when they perform those exercise, resistance exercise and interval exercises and stretching later in the day after 5, they have a greater opportunity to increase their muscular strength, power, and endurance. And one other side effect from exercising women in the later time is the mood boost. Now, there is a caveat to that, that sometimes when you're doing too high intense exercise later on in the day, it can affect, in some cases, sleep onset. And so sometimes people fall asleep a little bit later because they have, the adrenaline and the nervous system activation. But for those that can tolerate it, and again, I don't recommend everyone do that type of exercise on a daily basis, but on the few days that they are doing it, maybe just time it a little bit earlier. So those are the time of day. For men, they seem to benefit equally, whether they're exercising in the morning and evening, with a few exceptions. One is when men exercise in the evening time period, afternoon and on of the day, they have a greater reduction in blood pressure. So unlike the women that were having a lowering of blood pressure in the morning, men seem to lower their blood pressure when they exercise in the evening. And of course, we know that most cardiovascular events occur in the earlier time of day. So it makes sense that they would benefit from exercising a little bit later. And then they also have a mood boost.
So it's interesting. So if you're going to do your aerobic, do that in the morning for women in particular, and your strength, do that in the evening, so you can break up your day in that regards. And one more quick one, Paul. A lot of people, would be eating before we work out or not? Is there I'm seeing you smile there.
Yeah, talk about a controversial topic, right? Exercise fasted, we call it. Benita, there's not a lot of good scientific evidence that that's the ideal. It does seem to allow the body to start to burn a little bit more body fat, but there's a price to pay. I'm sorry to say this to everybody. When you do exercise fasted, although you might feel it impacting your body weight loss and your weight management a little bit better, and in some cases it does help with body fat loss, it also starts to detract from your lean, metabolically active muscle mass. So I'm not a proponent, just based on the science and the research that I've done over the 37 years, that even a small little power snack of protein before you go out to exercise is the solution to preventing that loss of your lean, metabolically active muscle mass, which we never want to compromise. If there's one thing on our body that we want to preserve into old age, along with healthy bones, is our lean muscle mass. We do not want to ever compromise that. And when we exercise fasted, that seems to negatively impact that a little bit too much. And I just, I don't feel good about recommending that to anybody.
Very interesting. It's funny. As I was asking you the question, one of our participants, Debbie, was asking the same thing. So Debbie, we were on page and we got the answer to that. And, if anybody is looking for something further, Paul, is there any kind of resources that you'd recommend that they reach out for?
Benita, I do, and I hope this isn't, a shameless self-promotion here, but my book, The Prize Life on Amazon would be one perfect way to do it. And my website, paularciero.com, but there are wonderful resources, and you highlighted some of these at the beginning. The American College of Sports Medicine. In fact, I'm really grateful as a fellow of that. I'm always grateful when others at the level that you're at of influence get to recommend people to use that as their starting point. And the 150 minutes a day, of course, is an American Heart Association that really is adopted from the American College of Sports Medicine. So the American College of Sports Medicine, the Obesity Society is a world-leading organization as well. And then the International Society of Sport Nutrition, all of which I'm a part of, and the International Protein Board. So those are resources that are founded on evidence-based scientific research, which is what I've shared with all of you today. And that's where I always would want people to start from, because when we use evidence-based scientific research, it's usually a platform that has a foundation that is very sturdy and strong, and the right way to go about making a lifestyle change.
Yeah. Paul, great information. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm going to ask Olivia to come back on now, and so that we can answer questions and keep this dynamic conversation going. So I see Olivia's mic went on, and now we get to see Olivia. And so if you've got questions, please put them in the chat, and we've got time for them to be answered by our fabulous panelists. So just drop them in for us. As we wait to see, because I know we've answered some as we've gone along. One of our participants asked, they walk the dog, but dogs stop to, I call it, go shopping. Is that enough exercise?
From my perspective, I'm interested to hear Olivia's as well. Absolutely. We sometimes provide our pets more of a healthy lifestyle than we provide ourselves sometimes. And so, yes, if your dog allows you to get out and exercise again, and benefit from that, it is absolutely a wonderful way to engage in a form of human movement that is very beneficial for us.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Paul. It's a twofer, right? You get to walk, and the animal gets to walk, the pet gets to walk. So it's 2 for 1.
That's our twofer. I like that. I call it going shopping. And the participant who posed the question says we call them sniff breaks. But
Yeah.
you gotta know the dog and getting out. And so, but along with that, if you're looking to do, the high intensity, the intervals, do you have to make Rover pick up the pace? Is strolling enough?
When you're doing the shorter exercise, movement, activity snacks that we're describing that are less than a minute, the shorter the time that they are, you really want to boost the intensity, because intensity is the primary determinant that has the greatest impact on our health and our performance. And so you do want to kick it up to at least an 8 in the scale of 1 to 10. So you want to work pretty rigorously. But again, it's for a very short period of time. And, one thing that Olivia and I kind of circumferentially addressed, from kind of, we circled around it, all of this exercise, the more you can do it outside in nature, we haven't really talked about that. It's called the nature pill. If you can engage in any of these forms of movement out in nature, that is an unbelievable win-win. And we know that when we have the nature pill from moving our bodies out in that environment, the benefit that we provide is almost double what we get when we're kind of, locked away and tucked away inside.
Yeah. I know Olivia loves getting outside and running and getting the ladies together and bringing them. And that's another key point, isn't it, Olivia? If you would address that, in terms of the research showing that when you have an exercise partner, how your workout changes and the odds that you're going to make it out the door change.
Yes, I mean, when I think about, the organization What Black Girls Run, one of the main reasons why I started the Albany chapter was I love the mission that the women have together. It's no woman left behind. That's literally the motto for Black Girls Run. And so if you're running, if you're walking, whatever you're doing, know that you're not going to be left behind. There's going to be someone that's going to go with you, someone that's going to be at the end of the race or at the end of the walk that's going to cheer you on. And so just having that accountability is huge. You know, we just started our weekly meetup runs because we're training for the Freihofers Run for Women coming up in a few weeks. And, you know, there's been a lot of women that, you know, they signed up for the race, but they haven't been showing up. But then those that have showed up will pick up the phone or send a text message or send a line on Facebook. Hey, I didn't see you on Saturday. Where were you? And so just having that accountability is huge. And having me as their ambassador, they're always in trouble because I'll go and say, I didn't see you today. So make sure you're doing something at home. Even if it's just around the park, just make sure you're doing something for you.
That's so true, which brings me, we've got a question from Katura. Is it okay to do the same exercise routine each day, or do I need to switch it up to get maximum benefits?
You know, again, I would say that whatever works. Sometimes people like to have the consistency of committing to the same thing, but in terms of overall health benefit, in terms of how our body responds to the movement we engage in, it's important to include those 4 different forms that I described at some level, just because we know that they impact and influence our body in different ways. And so that's why it's, you know, variety is the spice of life. So I think keeping that, you know, the dance moves that we did, I mean, they were awesome. I wish we were all on camera. I looked very silly. It would have been a good laugh for everybody. But yeah, I think the more variety that we can engage in, the more we benefit, because we're such a diverse, fully integrated organism, the human body. And so, yeah, we really do need to engage in those different forms.
Yeah, and I'm going to follow that up with you, Olivia. You know, some folks say, oh, if I walk every day or run every day, I'm going to get hurt.
It's all about the progression. I remember when I first started, and I'm a plus size woman, take great pride in it. And, you know, when I started running, they were like, aren't your knees going to hurt? Well, you know, you do things smart, right? You slowly pace yourself and you train and you do what you can. I'm not going to say on day 1 that I'm going to run 5 miles, right? So I do what I can and you build on it. And as you're building on it, your muscles are training, your muscles are getting stronger, and you're building that endurance. The muscle twitches are happening in the system. And so you're getting all these dynamics working, and then you're able to motivate yourself to go even further. So, yeah.
We've had a question come in via email that's a little bit connected to that. If we have pain, what should we do? Like, what's that balance between building stronger muscles, stronger joints, and not hurting yourself?
I love the word that Olivia used. Progression is one of the training principles. So yeah, they need to pay attention to that to avoid the pain. You know, progression allows for us to avoid pain. But I think there's a couple of different types of pain. If it's an acute pain that's followed with inflammation and swelling, well, that's a sign that you want to stop and heed that and ice it, right? The old word of rice, you know, rest it, ice it, compress it, and elevate it is always a good thing to do. We all now know that adding a little bit of heat in there intermittently can also be beneficial for blood flow. But yeah, so that pain, that acute pain, that's nagging, maybe has some nerve involvement, but definitely swelling. You want to take time to rest it and recover it. If it's muscle soreness, it's also a good idea to take time off in terms of pushing. But I think sometimes movement, really gentle and mild and moderate, even if it's non-weight bearing, can be beneficial to help alleviate the soreness of a muscle. So.
Oh, we're going to wrap up, but I just want to get one quick question, and I know you could give us a quick answer. The Heart Association recommends waiting 30 minutes to take your BP after exercise. Why wait 30 minutes?
Yeah, so because when you exercise, your body has responded with a pretty significant amount of what we call vasodilation. The blood vessels have expanded. And so waiting for the body to get back to what we call homeostasis, that's your normal place of living and the body being in its normal resting state, it's better to allow that to kind of subside to then take the medicine.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. And Olivia, a final thought you want to leave everybody with today?
Get up and move. You can do it. You can do it. Just get up and move. Start today. Get up and move.
I love it. Paul?
You know, I agree. I think movement is thy medicine for sure. And one thing that we have not necessarily emphasized, but that's okay. I think giving yourself time to recover, rest and sleep, and getting into a schedule, just staying on a schedule of sleep. And sometimes don't worry about the time that you go to bed sometimes at night, but if you can keep the same wake up routine, that seems to foster a better sleep pattern for people. So
Yep.
Just to make sure you have the balance. Balance is really important.
And I'm going to add my 2 cents to this. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks of how you look out there. Trust me, they're more worried about you looking at them than them looking at you. So lace it up, put a smile. Smiling, actually, the research shows we have a better workout. So put the smile on your face, get out there and enjoy it. I really want to thank Dr. Paul Arciero, Olivia Frempong. Thank you both so much for sharing this great information. You know, just got it. Was like they say, just do it. And I want to thank all of our, everyone who took part today and our sponsors. Also, our special thanks to today's sponsor, Kinney Drugs Foundation. And on the screen, you can see the info for the Check It Challenge. So, get involved. And thank you. Thank you all for taking the time for your day. And the registration from this event gives you access to previously recorded sessions and future webinars in the series. The next Check It community conversation, how to get healthy sleep and well-being. Well, that's set for Wednesday, the 24th of May at noon. We hope to see you there. And keep checking your blood pressure and show us how you've moved more this month by tagging the American Heart Association, at AHA New York, and do that on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on Twitter, use the handle, the hashtag Check It. So get out there, get moving, be well, and enjoy your day. I'll see you out there. Take care, everybody.
Wait. Put down your phone. This is just a little cool down stretch. Fine. You can use it like this. But before I go, I just wanted to say you're awesome. Believe it or not, you're about 90 seconds more active than you were before, and your heart totally noticed. Yeah, the workouts are done, but you don't have to be. Visit heart.org/make moves to learn more about how you and your heart